But first, it's been called a green alien invasion, not an influx of extraterrestrial life, but a staggering rise in the numbers of parakeets. The latest figures show around 12,000 pairs across the UK. That's up almost 2,500% since 1995. The majority are in London and the southeast of England, but there are now small yet growing populations in Manchester, Birmingham and the northeast, as well as sightings in other parts of the UK, including Glasgow, Aberdeen and Belfast. Well, native to Asia and sub-Saharan Africa, how they ended up here is a source of some debate, and some experts are now growing concerned about their possible impact on local wildlife. Our consumer editor, Chris Choi, explains.
A little peek from a parakeet with emerald green plumage and a distinctive squawk. Originally from India, Pakistan and the Himalayas, they've adapted so well to living wild here, they've become known as a green invasion. There's one.
Oh yes, indeed, there is one. Yep.
The British Trust for Ornithology reported what it calls an astronomical rise in the UK parakeet population.
It's basically going up and up and up. It seems kind of unstoppable. In terms of the population trend, since 1995 we've seen an increase of more than 2,000%, almost doubled in the last 10 years, up by almost a third in the last 5 years. So there's no signs of that stopping at all. They've moved basically through all the cities up the UK, up as far as Edinburgh and Glasgow. They're over in Belfast now, they're in Wales, they're in places like Cardiff. So kind of wherever you've got a large collection of people, you've now got a population of parakeets.
The whole story of how they got here in the first place is wrapped in mythology, and their behaviour now they are here is the subject of, well, increasing controversy.
So this is a really good example of a tree that's got nest holes.
Experts have unravelled myths dating back decades.
One idea is that they were on the set of The African Queen, which was filmed at studios out towards the west of London, and they got off the set there, which would have been 1950, 51. The classic story is that Jimi Hendrix let a couple of birds go on Carnaby Street, Adam and Eve.
But the truth is most likely that reports like this of sick parrots caused panic as early as the 1950s.
The parrot found sick earlier this week, part of a consignment of 148 from Suriname.
There was a disease called psittacosis, or colloquially known as parrot flu. And it seems likely that this scare caused people who had parakeets as pets or other parrots as pets to let those pets go.
And once free, these ring-necked parakeets really have spread their wings, but they are little green aliens, competing with native birds for nesting holes and food. Conservationists are now monitoring this alien species for evidence of negative impacts, but nobody doubts the popularity of these parakeets.
People like them, and perhaps if it engages people with nature and makes them feel good about being outside, there's some benefit to that, right?
But at this park in Belfast, where around 18 parakeets are nesting, some local ecologists are calling for them all to be trapped and kept in captivity.
We already know where some of the nesting cavities are. We could be looking at exclosures, for instance, to prevent them from using those. We could also be looking at mist netting. These are nets that are put up, they're practically invisible to birds, and then we could collect them by hand once they fly into them. The opportunity is here, the time is ripe, that we need to do something about these birds before it gets out of control.
New figures show that this spring there are more parakeets than ever nesting wild here in the UK. And not everyone sees them as our feathered friends. Chris Choi, ITV News.
And there is more from Chris on our 3 times a week podcast. He explains what you need to know about the apparently unstoppable rise. Find that now on ITVX, YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Well, back here, how hard is it to complain about vet care? Consumer group Which says the odds are stacked against pet owners. They say it's left millions of us putting up with excessive prices, substandard service and even, as we'll see, medical mistakes. And while the Royal College of Vets disputes some of the claims, they say they do want better regulation of practices. More now from Louise Scott.
You coming? Go big girl.
When Trace Brown took her dog Honey to the vets for an abdominal operation, she thought she'd be in safe hands. Instead, a foreign object was left inside, leading to multiple corrective surgeries and a £12,000 vet bill.
Honey stayed at the emergency vet for 11 nights. She fought for her life. Honey had 40 centimetres of intestine removed during that surgery because her intestine couldn't be saved. That particular surgeon led me in no doubt that it had been caused by the first surgery.
Trace complained to both the Vet Client Mediation Service and the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons, but was only offered £120 compensation.
Which surveyed over 1,000 pet owners who experienced issues with treatment or the cost of it in the past 2 years, and found 57% didn't complain, as they believed it would be unsuccessful or were worried about falling out with their vet practice.
So we asked pet owners in Edinburgh whether they feel confident to raise a concern.
I don't know necessarily if I challenge the cost. I do have pet insurance, so that covers a lot, which is nice.
I've always found them to be perfectly approachable and willing to answer any questions I may have.
Definitely would say something, but I wouldn't know that there was a formal way to complain.
The research comes as the Competition and Markets Authority is already investigating the veterinary sector.
What we want to see is really clear complaints procedures. But the other thing we want to see is a mandatory alternative dispute resolution provider. And that means that consumers can feel really confident that if something does go wrong, they'll be heard.
The Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons told us they do want to see reform.
The RCVS has been calling for a long time for legislative reform to widen the remit so that we are able to fill these gaps. Way before the CMA started or this witch report, so this has probably highlighted it.
Come on then.
Trace feels lucky Honey has made a full recovery, but it came at a cost for both owner and pet without any real accountability. Louise Scott, ITV News, Edinburgh.